Pelicans win 132-112. We're going to recap tonight before we get into it. This podcast is sponsored by the Birdsall Law Firm, the official injury lawyers of Boot Crew Media, located at 918 Poydras Street by the Superdome. Give them a call at 504-523-5413 if you or someone you know has been involved in an accident. Birdsall Law Firm, the official injury lawyers of Boot Crew Media, also presented by Company Burger, located at 4600 Red Street, and our good friends over there at Sidecar and Rusty Nail, joined here with Lito, Ross, Chaz, and Chris. Got a full crew tonight here. Chris, we're going to start with you first. CJ McCollum, is he an all-star?
Yes. Yeah. Well, right now, I think at this current pace, he's heating up at the right time. And I mean, look, to be honest, with the way the West is right now, all CJ has to do is keep this team above water. I think circumstances help. The start of the year, he hasn't played like an all-star for the entire year, but I think the run that he's on right now, you win more of these games against bad teams, mediocre teams like we've been talking about. Maybe you win a couple that you're not supposed to. Those stats continue to creep up. All of his numbers are looking like the guy that you originally acquired, due to the stress that he's on. He keeps this up playing at this level or close to it, and this team is in that third or that fourth seed in the West. I don't see how he's not an all-star, especially, with all of his reach between the media, being the president of the Players Association. I think he has a lot in his favor. And if the team continues doing what they're doing, I think you got to get him in there.
Yeah, Lito, he's in his last 10 games, he's shooting 49% from deep. He's averaging 6.4 assists, 4.2 rebounds, 25 points a game. We were earlier on, we were a little hard on, I wouldn't say hard on CJ. We're just saying that he seemed out of rhythm. But
ain't no weed.
Maybe there are a couple.
Yeah.
But Lito, he seems to be in a rhythm. And I think Ross pointed out a couple of podcasts ago, his shot doesn't look like that line drive shot anymore. He's got some arc to it. He has some rhythm. And the game's coming to him.
Yeah, he getting some lift on his jumper. I tell you this. Last podcast, we talk about players who have a conscience, has a conscience, doesn't have a heart. Like Christian doesn't have a heart. He doesn't have a conscience. He doesn't understand what a bad shot is. He doesn't understand what good defense is. Like, he is a killer. Like, he's gonna single out whoever's in front of him. He's gonna understand the defense. He's gonna read the D, and he's gonna he's gonna come for you, right? Like, he's gonna make very aggressive moves off the dribble. He's gonna take difficult shots, but like he's still like a guy. Once he gets in rhythm, man, it's like artistry. He's the New Orleans dance instructor. Like, he pushes you on skates. He lulls the defense to sleep. It's like he's got this old man in the park game, like the dude who don't necessarily have all the athleticism. His knee's not the greatest. Like, he ain't got the hops he once had. But like at the end of the game, like, you look up, he got 37.
Yeah, he's been incredible. Chaz, we'll go Chaz and Ross, because we put out a graphic today talking about MVP and MIPs and who's been the MVP of the season. A bunch of us said Zion Williamson, but you had an interesting answer, Chaz. It's Najee Marshall. And once again tonight, Najee just filling up the box score, 7 of 19 from the field, 18 points, but his hustle just pops off the screen. What are you laughing at?
Because I was hoping you were going to ask me about CJ. Go ahead.
I'm giving you Najee because there's not much more you can say about CJ.
No, but Najee, I think Najee's been the most consistent guy on this team, man. You know what you're going to get from Najee every year. I think this team's this front office's talent evaluation lies in those older guys, second round undrafted guys. If we can just skip to the second round every draft, I think we would be incredible. But I think Najee's incredible. Showed out he fronted his family tonight. He was gonna come ready to play tonight. Again, like, thing with this team is it's built on a lot of role players. Like, right, a lot of our role players play huge roles because we're always injured. And most role players don't play well on the road. It doesn't matter when Najee's playing. Najee shows up ready to play. And that's what I respect and appreciate about Najee in particular.
Can you admit that Willie Green called a really good timeout tonight, down 7-0 here in the first?
No, because he let a double-digit lead go down to 3 in the third.
Just never any credit.
So he loses credit for his good timeout. That gets deducted.
He just
There's a net.
It's not, whatever, Don't force me to say it because y'all know what I'll say. But let's move on. Let's keep it moving.
Ross, we talked about schedule, right? You got to win these games. You got to beat the Washington Wizards. You get Boston on Wednesday, and then you got the Detroit Pistons. Who knows what happens in Cleveland? You got to take care of these teams tonight. Would you like from this game? I mean, they started off slow, but I mean, it was a pretty dominant performance there the rest of the way.
Yeah, I was really upset with the way we started again. Played no defense in the first quarter. Obviously got off to a terrible start. You just alluded to the timeout we had to call, and then it got even a little worse after that. And, I was nervous. I really was. I didn't have very high hopes coming into this game. It just felt like we were sort of scuffling a little bit. So I think the fact that we came back after that bad first quarter and played as well as we did sort of speaks to, not to pile onto the whole like be tough thing, but like it speaks to some of the toughness, speaks to, again, the fact that a lot of those guys, I mean, we were a deep team early in the year. Now we're not deep at all, but a lot of those guys that, were getting a few minutes early in the year, now having to play meaningful minutes, that stuff matters. And if Willie's not the best X's and O's guy, I think he has clearly done a very good job of keeping guys engaged, being ready when your time is called. So, look, that showed out today. This is a big – this doesn't seem like it, right, because it's a middle of the year game on a Monday in Washington. But for this felt like a big win to me because it just felt like we had hit a skid and we were injured and things weren't going that great. I think to come back and play well tonight, it means more in the grand scheme of things than it is just one win.
Lito, we'll go Lito and Chris. It's been 2023 and the Pelicans played 5 games, and in those 5 games, JV's had a double-double.
Mm-hmm.
And he once again tonight finished with 27 and 12. I'm giving you your flowers. Please hold up. Right? 27 and 12. But what I liked about it, Lito, is I forget who got in foul trouble there early on in the game. Gafford got in foul trouble early on, 2 fouls, and you clearly saw that they were going to play through JV. Take me what you saw through him, because he's a guy you can just trust. I mean, you want to talk about a guy that shows up, as Chad said to Najee, like that dude shows up every single night.
It must be rocket science, huh? Listen, man, an attorney got on here one time. An attorney got on here, Brad. Good friend of mine, works at a law firm I'm familiar with. And he said, if you want this man to be a part of the offense, if you want him to produce, you got to set the table for him. You have to set the table for him. That is not a man who's going to dribble the ball down the court. He's not setting up his own offense. He's not taking step back shots. He doesn't do a lot of pretty things. He's a bully. He just wants to wear the shit out of you, right? I'm sorry for cussing. Excuse me. He just really wants to beat you up, right? He's got touching around the rim. Like he's a guy who, once you get him involved, I was so happy to see not only post entry passes, but I'm so happy to see like when he called for the ball and he kicked it back out, he got it back and he could establish better position. I'm so happy to see us stick with that, right? It was a couple times in the pick and roll where, he's got Daniel Gafford on him, for God's sakes. Like, Jesus Christ, man, get that man the ball. No disrespect to Daniel Gafford, but like this is not like this is not something that's hard for JV to do. Like, you literally just got to be involved to do it. The rebound's gonna be there regardless. But you see the point totals, and what did he shoot? He was like,
he went
10 for 15.
Yeah, a very efficient night. He was efficient. I mean, also we got 6.5 minutes through the podcast before cursing, so I think it might be a new record for us. So, not bad. It was really good stuff, Chris. What are you seeing from JV? They're making him a focal point in the offense, especially without Brandon and Zion in the lineup.
Rocket science.
Is Chris muted? We're off to a good start. I think Chris is definitely muted.
Oh, my bad. No, I haven't seen anything different from Jonas. In all honesty, it's really more so of how he's being featured in certain matchups and the consistency involved in it. Like, you knew coming into this game that Washington really didn't have a true physical presence that was going to be at center, even with Kristaps being 7 feet. He's not a physical guy, and he's not going to guard a brute center in the post. And it was easily the matchup, the advantage that jumped right off the page for when you play Washington would have been Jonas. So it wasn't like they just went to Jonas a couple times, 3 times. They ran their entire offense through him for stretches of that game. And what does that happen? And we're like, what happens after that? Well, it gets his energy going, it gets his motor going. I haven't seen Jonas dunk the ball. Tonight might have been the most dunks in a game I've seen from Jonas. I saw running dunks, I saw post dunk, I saw a putback dunk. You know, he looked more energized on defense. You know, I mean, that's what happens when you cater a game plan around him. He's able to take advantage in certain matchups, and he has a few of those teams. I mean, we've seen him with Chicago and San Antonio in stretches. He'll see a few. I'm just happy to see the team, not just the coaching staff, but the players continually go through him no matter who came in, and it worked out. He had a really good game again.
Yeah, Chaz, I thought it was an interesting trade target from 5 because I want to hear your thoughts on Chaz, and then we'll go to Ross. But Kyle Kuzma tonight showed me something. Listen, I asked Chris before he came on. He fouls out. Larry Nance waves goodbye to him, then he just goes straight into the tunnel. Yeah, that's not a guy that I want on my team. I know he has a little some antics with him, but that was kind of a head scratcher tonight.
I didn't really have a problem with it. I mean,
you didn't have a problem with him walking off the floor after you get fouled out?
No, because I saw a guy quit on the coach in game 5 of the season last year, and he played like 77 more games, and he was still on the roster. You know, I don't want to start. You know, I don't want to start drawing lines here. I'm not going to stand for that. People quitting on the coach. But that being said, I don't really think Kyle Kuzma I don't think he's a actual target because he is an upcoming free agent. I think he would fight tooth and nail not to come to this market. Definitely doesn't want to play next to Brandon Ingram. I'm not sure what their rivalry is. I don't know. Yeah, it's a very strange rivalry going on with those two guys. But I do think Kyle Kuzma is a talented player. I thought the defense tonight really set the tone for the offense. I made a point of this on the playback. In the first half, you drew 3 offensive fouls, 3 charges in the first half alone. I thought CJ played great defense tonight. I thought Jonas played really solid defense tonight. I thought Trey showed, he played a little defense tonight, did what he could tonight. I just thought it was just a really, really good team effort defensively. Frustrated Kyle Kuzma. He had some big shots. They hit some threes, but they're not a very physical team. Look, let's not make a mistake about it. The Wizards suck. Like Wizards suck. They're not a physical team. So as soon as you punch back, it's over for them. They just can't wait to leave.
Just saw this stat, Ross. Points in the paint, 74-46 tonight, Pelicans. 74-46.
It felt like that too, though. It was,
and that's without Zion Williamson. I mean,
it felt
like I had 100 points in the paint today if Zion played.
Yeah, we've talked about this a lot. When you think about high-scoring teams, a lot of times you think about the three-point shooting teams, and the Pelicans have proven, I think, this year, even when Zion hasn't been in, that they can really bludgeon you in the paint. Be that whether Jonas is doing or CJ getting into the paint or what have you. So not a huge surprise there. I mean, Chris said it best. That was the mismatch. You look on paper before the game, and even though they start 2 7-footers, that's how you're going to beat them.
Yeah, I mean, I think even Joel Myers made fun of Kristaps Porzingis tonight on the.
Joel was on fire tonight. Joel was on fire tonight.
He said some stuff about Kristaps. Was like, yeesh. That was interesting. But presenting by Company Berry, located 4600 Ferret Street. All right, Chris. So you were on. I'm gonna let Chris and go, and then Ross go because y'all were on the stream last night of the podcast. But we want to talk about trade targets, and I think y'all two also had some interesting trade targets, and I think this is a good time for y'all to talk about that. Why would you want to You said that you want Doug McDermott, and I didn't think about him at first, but that's a really good trade target to, especially a guy that's gettable on a really bad basketball team. Talk a little bit why you would want to see Doug McDermott on this team.
Well, because I'm tired of seeing Duncan Robinson tweets every 3 days. If you want Duncan Robinson, there's diet Duncan Robinson there for you. I mean, like I would like some to add someone on this team that has pretty much been the same person every place that they've been. They are understanding of their role, and it doesn't matter who's around them, their role isn't going to be changed. And while doing that, you add someone who can shoot the basketball, who's an off-ball presence. It just, it's guys like him who run around and do so much off-ball. They help you. Of course, they help you offensively in the type of looks that you can draw up. But they also help you defensively, depending on who's stationed, who has to deal with that action for the 15 to 20 minutes a game that they're in there. I mean, I don't have a problem with a lot of the other players that were really named. In all honesty, I'm thinking I don't see the team making a trade for a big name. I just can't foresee it. If that was a true option, there are a lot of individuals that I'd be interested in. But Doug's not going to cost you a whole bunch. He's not going to shake up what you think you have, what you're trying to do. And I think he's going to make life easier for a lot of individuals when he's in the game. And he adds more of what this team, I think, needs, reliable and respectable shooting.
We had a clip. I asked Lito last night, and Lito said, F them picks, because you talk about you don't think this team is going to do a major move. Well, Ross, your trade target is a home run move. Did that make sense? I'm a home run, whatever. SGA from the Thunder.
Yeah, I mean, part of me agrees with Chris, right? I mean, that was a hypothetical that if we were just laying all the cards out, that's the guy that I would lay all the cards out for. I think he fits long term. Like, you can make the contract isn't that bad. And as I look, again, not just to this year, but to next year and the year after, and who's on the books and who's not on the books, and how do you lock in something that is that fits with what you currently have and that complements the other players, and that is in that same age range. Like, I mean, I think about a guy like that, and I look, I like these players, but as I look at some of how our role players have played this year, I'm not, if I'm taking a home run swing, like, those guys are on the block, those guys are on the table for me. I mean, it doesn't mean I don't like them. Like, I think Herb Jones is a very good defender. I like Trey Murphy a lot. I think he's gotten better this year. A lot of people don't think he has. I personally think Trey has improved. I love what Jose brings. Like, that's great. Like, the picks are cool, but we said this a few weeks ago. Like, we're not scratching to make the playoffs anymore. Like, it's time to start looking at what the end goal is. And if I want the end goal, what do we need? Like, another shot creator wouldn't be the worst thing on earth. Like, an elite wing defender that can kind of do some things there. I mean, like I said, I don't think it's probably realistic. I agree with Chris to a certain extent that we're not shaking up the bag like that during the season this year. In the offseason, who knows? So it was kind of a silly hypothetical to a certain extent, but if I'm thinking about guys I'd shake it up for, he certainly comes very close to the top of the list, if not the top.
Chaz, you had a trade machine at the picks. You're pulling out your chat. Chaz, you had an interesting post today. I want you to talk about that. The trade machine.
You know what's funny? I agree with Ross, and I disagree with Ross to a point, because I think we are kind of scratching to make the playoffs to a degree, because we still don't know the extent of these injuries. That's what I mean by that. Because I saw Zion working out, sitting down today with his trainer, looks good, doing his thing. I don't know what's going on with Brandon. And I would hate to see us slip to the 7th seed, 8th seed play-in team, because it's a real possibility. Things could happen. Right now, CJ is kind of carrying. He had a post-game quote to say he took that Dallas game off. Interesting night to take off, but took the Dallas game off, and he was like, because I felt tired and I didn't want to risk getting injured. See Larry Nance kind of, had a good game tonight, but JV, it's a lot of things. Guys are being taxed physically, and with our main guys being out, I don't know how long we can stay afloat. But with that trade, I say that for a couple of reasons. Firstly, the Lakers, Anthony Davis could be coming back any week now. It's kind of unpredictable, the value of that pick. And with Brandon and Zion being injured, you're kind of losing trade leverage because it's easy to approach a team and like, hey, we don't necessarily need what you have to offer, but here's our offer for it. But if those guys are out for even more of an extended period of time, you're kind of approaching the team saying, like, a team is looking at you now saying, well, heck, before you were trying to make a finals push. Now you might be even trying to make a playoff push with a trade acquisition or even a second round push with a trade acquisition. So they're gonna tax you. You know what I'm saying? They're gonna tax you. I think you just go for it, man. I think you go for it.
Can you, for the people watching, can you give us the trade that you
want me to say the names? Okay. Well, I think I know the top of my head. I think it was Dyson, Jax, JV, Devontae, and 5 first-round picks.
Who was it for?
Shai Gilgeous-Alexander. And the center, is it Mike?
Mccollum.
Yeah. 2-year contract. Shai's locked in for the foreseeable future. Yeah.
Listen, to Ross and Chad's point, it's a home run swing. But I want to get Lito, and then we'll close it up with Chris. Lito, because Brandon Ingram, this is his 26th game missed this year, I think, either 26th or 27th game. The foot, the injury is interesting. It's a toe contusion, right? I've seen him personally work out. We've seen him personally work out before games. We've seen him at practice, but Coach Green came out today and said he still hasn't gotten a full practice in. What's going on? What do you?
Shit, I'm waiting on somebody to tell me.
I know, foot and toes and knees and Achilles. You don't want to play with that. But
hey, man, look, I feel all that, like, and I think what we said last night was clarification will help us a lot in this situation, because we're just left to our devices to assume whatever is going on, and we don't know if it's been 20 games and that's however many weeks and he hasn't been through a full practice. Like, there seems to be a bigger issue than what is being let on. And again, maybe I'm wrong, but hey, nobody's told me different, right? So I can run with whatever I have. I mean, I think this is like kind of like it's not in the same vein, of course, because Zion's injury was a lot more serious last year, but it's just kind of like, hey, tell us something.
Chris, are you officially worried about Brandon's injury?
I'm indifferent because I think I've gotten a chance to see this team play so many games with so many different lineup combinations. No injury really rattles me anymore. It's like, all right, he's out for a month. All right, here we go. He's out for 2 weeks. Okay, fine. All right, because again, I mean, even today you lose Herb and who was having a good start to the game, right? He gets hurt. He's probably going to be out a week. This is just what this team is. So would I like to have Brandon Ingram back? Sure. But am I going to give myself an extended headache trying to figure out exactly what's going on and if he actually has a broken toe or figuring out? I'm done. That first week, like, when we did that podcast and I said, we was like, right, he'll be back in January. I felt that, but I hope that wasn't the case. Now, who to say he won't be back until February? I don't know. I hope he gets back soon. Whoever the hell suits up, and we'll figure it out, man. That's where I'm at.
Chris, can I ask you this? If you're not, if fair enough, on the Ingram side of it, but do you think there's a bigger concern that worries you? And I'm just spitballing, but the fact that there's a little bit of like an every year tone to this, like whether it's minor things, and I look, every team deals with injuries. That's not an earth shattering statement, but it feels like we deal with a lot. Do you think there's something bigger going on there with, I mean, look, I'm not a doctor or a trainer or anything, but I don't know. It just seems like there's been a lot this year. And I mean, if you go back in this team's past, but even with this training, they brought this group in, I felt like, to alleviate a lot of this. And I don't feel like a lot has changed. And some of it may just be luck. And if it's just like, you just got bad luck, it is what it is. But I just wanted to get you.
Yeah, because Ross, I don't know how much are these injuries, whether it be from prevention to recovery, is on the staff, and how much of that is on the player. How much is that on a player or his team saying, all right, he's not ready to go yet, or is it the medical staff saying no, being more precautious? I don't have that answer to really know how worried I should be. All I know is it's unfortunate, and like Lito said, it's confusing because it's been a long period of confusion about this injury. And here's the thing. Brandon being out this long and Zion having this injury, it doesn't kill you in the short term in regards to this season. But the longer you go without having a chance to play these two guys together, you lock yourself out of adding the right talent to the team that fits around them due to being not having enough time before the trade deadline, even if you get there. And then if you don't get these two guys together in time for longer periods, you're not going to beat a good team in the playoffs. People talk about getting out the first round. You're not getting out of the first round. To me, if you don't get a substantial amount, even a decent amount of games with Brandon, Zion, and CJ together. That's what's interesting to me, because this thing is open. It's up for grabs.
What's a decent amount of games to y'all? Like, what do Brandon and Zion? How many games? I know it's kind of a hard question to answer, but they've only played, I think, 90-something games together. Brandon and Zion together, but Brandon, Zion, and CJ have only played 10 games together. So, I mean, Lito, Chaz, like, how many games do you need to figure something out?
You need a lot more than 10, buddy.
I would say at least 40. I had predicted that they would play 50, but I would say you need at least 40 games.
That's crazy.
You know what I say? I think I said it's 65 each, about 50 games as a tandem.
Yeah,
but I don't know that you need that many. I don't know that you need, in my personal opinion, I don't know that those guys need that many together. But it's more of, for me, the time frame. Like, you need a good month together. Like however many games that is, of like learning how someone, because it's not just like, you're not just learning what somebody does well on the court. You're like learning their mannerisms. You're learning how they play defense. You're learning what they look like when they're tired. And it's not like, you're not just learning, oh, I need to get Brandon the ball in this spot. There's like a whole sequence of playing with someone that's more than that.
But Ross, it's not, at least for me, I'm not worried about them. It's knowing what exactly goes around them.
Right.
Like,
I totally agree with you on that.
Not just having a great run right now, but what happens if he doesn't fit with those three together? What if
I totally agree.
You know what I'm saying?
100%.
Like, I think you get a better chance of seeing a better Trey Murphy with those three and anticipating that they get than the guy you see currently. Like, I have those kind of questions, which makes even talking about trade talk is difficult unless you're talking about the cream of the crop, because those dudes, they're gonna fit in and find their way regardless.
The biggest concern for me is closing minutes and crunch time minutes and who gets the ball and where they like it, what spot on the floor and so on and so forth, and who goes with those three on in the closing minutes. You still don't really know, Chaz. I mean, I don't even know if they've played a tight game. I mean, I guess. Well,
yeah, they have. They had.
Have they played a close? I'm trying to think.
They had a couple games together.
Brooklyn was
the fact that you just had to think about it is like proves the point, though, right? Like,
Bulls game, Atlanta game, Charlotte.
But
game.
Those were clutch. But I think Charlotte was a clutch minutes game. But yeah. Close this out. Yeah.
Yeah, I'll just say this. I think, and I got a show coming out about this. I think you got to look. I said this last year as it pertains to Zion. I think you have to build a separate team. You have to build this team as if you might never see those guys together. You got to have a team that's when everyone's healthy, a team when one of them's healthy, and another team when the other one isn't healthy. That's the only way to survive this. And I totally agree with Lito. picks. Last time, I can't think of the last time picks won anything.
They haven't. Players winning championships. So Ross, Chris, Chaz, Lito, Pelicans win 132-112. We will be back Wednesday night against the Celtics, and then Friday against the Pistons, presented by DraftKings. Lito, did you want to say something?
One thing, yes. Shout out to De'Aaron Seabron for getting his first NBA bucket.
Was that his? Yeah, it was his first bucket.
What
was
his
first bucket.
Oh, congratulations to him! Congratulations, sir.
That's good stuff there. Before we go, make sure you like, comment, subscribe. Love to hear your thoughts on the Pelicans 20-point win over the Wizards. You can follow us on all social media, Pro Pels Talk. I'm Patient Bull, Cheddar Chaz, Boo Crew Ross. Lito's actually suspended. It's Father Lito. And Lito is expecting here very soon. Yeah. We're all very excited here.
Yeah.
So once again, presented by Comfortberry, located 4600 Ferret Street. We will see y'all later.